Greetings. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate a set of tools that we use to write FileMaker scripts faster, more accurately, and more consistently. So I've got some toolbars here, 3 of them, and lots of buttons sitting on the toolbar. So I'm going to click the buttons and describe what they do. I'm not going to click all of them, but I'm going to begin with this one. So this little D, visual, which is why we use the buttons. There's too many of these buttons that we have to have keystrokes for all of them, so we do buttons for the visuals. So most scripts, we will start with a comment consisting just of a date and a developer name. I'm going to skip over a few. Dialogues are bread and butter, and we have 3 kinds that I'm going to demonstrate here today. One is, we call it D1. It's a single choice, just informational, very often followed by a halt, so we put that in there. And second most popular, or maybe even first most popular, is a dialog with 2 buttons. And we use cancel proceed. We could, other developers might use yes, no, but we use cancel proceed. Now I'm going to jump ahead here. I'm going to demonstrate. I took out the comment line that was code generated in, and one of the things we like to do is make things visible, and we do it for dialogues and scripts and finds. I'm going to just demonstrate that if we saw this in some code that we were, modifying, upgrading, where we didn't know what the button said, we'd want to see that without having to drill down and find it and then remember which was which. So we have a little button that we click that looks inside the script step and extracts the button names and provides them as a comment. So that makes the code more readable. And then here's one we don't use as often, but just to complete it, it's the 3 choices. So that's dialogues. Another very common thing that we do is finds. So there's a block, and these are starting points. That's not a finished product, but it does save a lot of work, obviously, in terms of setting up a find. And we do the enter find mode and perform find to make the find that's occurring very, very visible. Obviously, we got to go back and do a little bit of work. It's not completely automated. And then we do trap the find, and we'll handle errors in different ways, different situations. And I'm not going to get into that because that's a little bit too complicated for this particular video. Now we have different kinds of finds. There's the perform find, and it's got 2 siblings, the constrain and the extend. So this is, kind of clay that we're throwing on the table that we're going to sculpt into a finished script. And we're doing blocks. At one point we had a button that we clicked that produced a very, very long script, kind of a kitchen sink, does everything script. We used it for a while, and then we sort of decided that we were better off doing building blocks. Now I'm going to demonstrate something else which it always works when we're not doing a screen share. Sometimes when we're doing a screen share it throws it off, so I'm hoping this works. And it didn't work. What it's supposed to do, what it does do, and I tested just before this video, is it produces just a single line comment. There we go. Okay. Which is essentially saying, I modified the code, what did I do? And rather than writing up a comment, it's essentially 5 lines changed, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a very lightweight yet efficient and accurate way of commenting by just indicating these lines changed. And that could be I added these 5 lines, it could be I turned them off, but whatever the last thing that happened in the 5 lines that follows, that's what happened. So it makes comments that are lightweight, and the comments are placed directly above, which is our convention, directly above the step. So it's fast, it's efficient, it seems to be accurate, and that's what we do. Moving right along, we've got loop records, which is, as you can imagine, very popular. bit of a progress bar here. We don't always put the progress bar. We don't always leave the progress bar in. But if we take it out, I don't feel bad because I can always put it back in. So there's an example of having code where, because it's so easy to code, I can code more robustly because it's not a whole lot of work. I had looping records, looping portals, another kind of loop. Now here we've got quite a bit going on. When we loop a portal, we go into the portal using an object name rather than go to field. Object name more reliable. Could be a filtered portal. There's one reason. So if we're using an object name and we want the script to work, something could break later, and we might lose that object name. So we do a little thing where we pass the object name into a subscript, which is a separate video. And I'll tell you, the subscript checks for the existence of that object name on that layout. And if it doesn't find it, it halts. It fails early and says, oh, wait, somebody moved something. So line 4, we got to go back and add the object name. Line 10, once again, preventive coding. If we're looping a portal and it's got to create records on the relationship level, or might in the future, we want to exit based on the table occurrence in the foreign key. When we're doing the CodeGen, we don't know the name of the foreign key. So this is entered as a bit of a to-do. So it's not live code, but like I said, still got to do some work with CodeGenning, but there's still some work to be done. Here's a very popular thing to do, which is the if, else, end if branch. So that's CodeGen parameter in. We've got, for the systems that we work on, where we've spliced in the help system, we will, if the parameter is missing or wrong, either one, it'll make a help request that we'll see immediately through a Slack notification. And that way, if something goes wrong, we'll catch it super fast. So that's really good for building code, especially good for when you're refactoring code. Maybe you're simplifying, you see a branch, and you don't think it's used, so you'll take it out. And there's, like a 1 in 1,000 chance that you're wrong. So it gives us a little bit of a safety net. We'll obviously do it carefully, but it's good for one's peace of mind psychologically to think that if something does go wrong, it'll be caught immediately. Once a year something goes wrong, maybe twice a year. So a couple different flavors of the if else. We won't demonstrate them all. Iterating through a list, another loop that's very popular. Different ways to do it. Different programmers do it different ways. So that's one way. Once again, good starting point. There's some smaller things that are one line, but still, it's work. And if they're frequent enough, we have a little counter. Counts how many times we clicked each button. Gives us some sense which is the most useful. But in general, this does give us a lot of speed. So lots and lots of buttons here. Parameters, JSON type stuff. I'm going to skip over that. It's kind of complicated to demonstrate. Here's one that we use a lot. We're on a layout, so I click this, and it enters that, and that was fast. And it would be a heck of a lot longer if I were to go through the user interface. So we're using AppleScript to figure out the layout that we're on and building code appropriately. And we've got the vanilla go to layout. We've got go to layout based on the parameter. And that's got to go in another branch, otherwise it's going to show up red. And finally, based on the base table, which is one of the things that we like to key off the base table a lot. We're using anchor buoy. We have a lot of scripts that branch based on base table. Okay, let's see. These are a lot of things more complicated to demonstrate. I'm going to put that up there just for the heck of it. And let's see what else. These things optimize code. Too complicated to demonstrate. Here's some simple bread and butter stuff. Parameter, bread and butter meaning it's just one line. Commit record. passing variables around. That's 3 lines if you count the comment, 2 lines if you don't. So these are super simple. Let's see. Oh, here's some. Actually, let's do this one, then we'll clear it. I have this go to layout arbitrary. I'm going to just wrap it in an error capture. And this one I'm going to wrap it in a allow user abort. And here we're going to wrap this in an if branch. Okay. Saves time. Okay, so now FileMaker's got a lot of features. One of them is save to PDF. So here's one. This is the pattern that we have. When we're doing a save to PDF, it's usually there's usually conversation with a client about where do they want the PDF to land. Do you want to put it in the folder? What do you want to name the file? PDF obviously would be the extension. We just factor this out, make it super readable, because one of our practices, I guess, is to try and put everything on the script step plane with as little drilling as possible, and often leaning towards writing in a very verbose fashion. Like this is 1, 2, 3, 7 lines. That's pretty verbose. I could do it all in 1 line, but then I'd be drilling into the calculation as opposed to just being able to see it. We hand a lot of code off to people, so we'll skew towards readability because, level of a number of years programming, we want to be able to hand code off to people who are maybe just beginning their FileMaker career. And then I use the name base folder path because generally speaking, we're going to put things either in the desktop, the document, or the temporary. And we can just turn these on and off until we sort out. We might start by putting things in the document, and once we get everything working, switch to temporary. Anyway, so that's save records as PDF. And now we have similar, just in terms of the construct, so I won't completely go into this. We have save Excel. This is email. I'll skip that. And I did this one earlier. These I won't demonstrate. These are a bunch of refactoring things. Visually, we have these little icons, simplistic icons, not works of art, but enough for me to tell the difference. We're refactoring a variety of different things, legacy code. I'll skip that. So just to wrap it up here, this is a toolkit. Really, this particular tool, these tools are a subset of a larger tool set that covers all the things that the FileMaker platform has opened up for copy and paste. And that includes scripts and script steps. This is the script step, but we have buttons for scripts that we use a lot. Fields, same story. Fields are something that you can have. Custom functions, our custom function library, at least the ones that we use a lot, is all loaded in a palette. That's a separate video. Fields would be a separate video. Scripts would be a separate video. These are all the objects. Valueless and custom menus are available as well. And layout objects, that's huge, and that would be many videos about how we do that. So these are ways of, just to wrap it up here and repeat, these are tools that we use to write FileMaker code faster, more accurately, and more consistently. So thank you for your attention. Happy FileMakering. Okay, signing off.